Hello, everyone. My name is Caitlyn, and today we're talking about child labor. Let's begin by going over what child labor is. Child labor is defined as children performing work that is mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous and harmful to children and/or interferes with schooling. The UNICEF standard indicator includes, for ages 5 to 11 years old, at least 1 hour of economic work or 21 hours of unpaid household services per week. For ages 12 to 14 years old, at least 14 hours of economic work or 21 hours of unpaid household services per week. And for ages 15 to 17 years old, at least 43 hours of economic work per week. Time to break it down. In 2020, approximately 160 million children were engaged in child labor. That's about 1 out of 10. 69 million children work in hazardous conditions threatening their health, safety, or moral. 67 million are girls, 7.8% of all girls, while 93 million were boys, 11.2% of all boys. 7 million of these working children are in rural areas, 13.9% of rural children compared to 4.7% of urban children. 1 in every 4 children ages 5 to 11 in child labor do not attend school. UNICEF estimates that 25% of kids in the poorest countries work in duties that are detrimental to their health and development. Surprisingly, there was actually an increase in child labor, despite how easily information is collected and spread during this day and age. There had been no progress in the percentage of child labor worldwide from 2016 to 2020. Actually, 8 million more children entered the workforce. This increase mostly included 5 to 11 years old. There had been improvements in Latin America, the Caribbean, Asia, and the Pacific. Meanwhile, child labor in sub-Saharan Africa had grown. This region had more children working than the rest of the world combined. Although there was a spike in recent years, there is hope. On the right, you'll see a graph depicting numbers of millions of children ages 5 to 17 years old in child labor and hazardous work from 2000 to 2024. The overall number of children in child labor declined by more than 22 million, and the number in hazardous work by even more, 25 million, from 2020 to 2024. Here you'll see a pie chart representing hazardous work by age, estimated in 2024. Child labor rates have been changing in different regions. These graphs show child labor rates in the sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, and Asia and the Pacific. All of these regions have seen progress against child labor since 2020. Most child labor occurs in agriculture, but as you can see here, child labor is also prevalent in industry and services. In all age categories, although the differences in child labor divided by sex is not always big, males are the majority in each age category. Overall, males are used in child labor more than females are. Combating child labor has to be a group effort. It starts by spreading the information. As consumers, we must demand that companies strictly forbid child labor and boycott companies who refuse to comply. You have to hit them where it hurts, their pockets. Another way to combat child labor is by advocating for legislation across borders that outlaws child labor. Assigning an outside position to companies made specifically to track traces of child labor and report it would put pressure to force this to stop, especially if hefty fines are connected to substantiated violations. Lastly, constructing programs and funds to stabilize communities and combat poverty could reduce the need for child labor within a home. Thanks for spending your time with me, and I hope you learned something.